Greetings, welcome to Maisha Kazini. Finally, we are having the conversation about talent. The performance of the Kenya team at the Olympics has shown Kenyans that it's not enough to have talent. We must have a deliberate infrastructure of how we can develop that talent so that our sports people can become good and skilled, and that when they perform, it's not even about winning. It's that when we look at their performance, we feel proud. We know that this is the best we can do. But looking this year at the performances, like in the 1,500 meters, it was so discouraging. We have never seen anything like this. What I want to talk about today is that our sports problem is a thinking problem. And I'm not saying thinking is the only problem of sports. Of course, there's a problem of resources, of politics, of institutions, but I want to talk about the thinking angle of the sports problem. I want to explain that by talking about 5 concepts. I want to talk about talent, knowledge, work, skills, and technology. So what is talent? Talent is that which makes us unique as individuals. Let's say, for example, that I'm a 7-year-old girl in a neighborhood and my next door neighbor is about the same age. She's my friend. And every weekend when we are playing, we do a sprint. And we do this for a number of months and maybe a year. And every time we do the sprint, she gets better and better and faster, and she always defeats me. That's a talent. My neighbor is talented. So it's not enough for her to be talented. She needs to know how to find a coach, whether she can train, what she needs to eat so that she can become that good athlete. And even her parents who are supporting her, they need to know where to ask for that information. Should they go to the Ministry of Sports? Should they go to the Athletics Kenya headquarters? What do they need to do for them to get access to the knowledge that can help her become better? Now, this decision-making requires knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge is the information that we acquire over time, over experience, not only through school, but through many sources, and knowledge is what we use to make decisions. For example, I've heard that people are being exploited, poor people who don't know how athletics works. They're being exploited by sports scouts who go and lie to them about the process, make them train, and then they use that talent and they exploit these people and then dump them. So knowledge matters. Knowledge matters because knowledge is what helps us make decisions about the things we do, including in sports. And that's why you can see people like Eliud Kipchoge, very knowledgeable, and he's making good decisions about sports. And yet, when we were being given CBC, we were being told that we don't need knowledge, only skills, and that's because Kenyans confuse knowledge with exams. We think that exams are for testing knowledge. No, exams are for weeding people out so that we can have fewer and fewer people who have opportunities and we can blame them as unknowledgeable. But exams are not about knowledge. It's about our ability to do exams. Think of knowledge this way. Someone like David Rudisha, his father was also an athlete. So he grew up knowing that one can be an athlete. So the idea of being an athlete and training was not something that was unique to him. He knew it could be done, and then he trained and became a good athlete. And what I was telling KICD is you can't impose a curriculum for knowledge that is not otherwise available in the environment. If people can't get access to knowledge about how to develop their sports talent, it doesn't matter what pathway you put in the school system, it will not help them. All right, so let's say she gets a place to train. Now she needs to know how to train, She needs to eat the right food. She needs to watch other athletes. She needs to be in the right competitions. When she goes for competitions, she needs to be mentally prepared and emotionally prepared. All that is work. Work is the effort we put into becoming better at something. And what our athletes are lacking is the opportunity to work through training, through getting access to tournaments, through support, so that they are not anxious. It's not just even the body, even the mind. They cannot become good if they are anxious about whether they'll get support. If we have a cutthroat system where only two people can make it, like Winfred Yavi was saying, where only two people can make it, and yet we have a talent pool of 50 people, you make people so nervous, and that invites room for corruption. Because if you have 50 excellent people and spaces for only two, what's going to happen is that the people who get the two spaces are the ones who can afford or who know the right people. So what we have is a problem of work. We need to be able to work to develop our talent. We become better at our skills through work. And what we needed was more working opportunities. But instead, we were told, no, the problem is curriculum, so let's have CBC. But now at least the Gen Zs have clarified that the issue is not the curriculum. The issue is the economic environment we are in. My friend now gets the training, she gets the right opportunities, she gets the right mental environment for her to now become an athlete. And because of that work, she now becomes skilled. And that's what the people at the Olympics are. They are skilled. They are skilled because they got opportunities to work, and there was knowledge that made them make the right decisions. We need to have opportunities to work for us to develop the skill. But the second thing that has been happening in this Kenya is that the more skilled you are, the more madharau you get from the system. So you're either transferred, if you're in government, you're transferred to an area where your skill cannot apply, or you're told you're wewe ni mjuaji, you just feel so hot with yourself and all that. We really hate skill in this country. And so what is happening with our athletes is that we are not putting in the knowledge and the resources for them to develop the skills. And even after they develop those skills, what are we doing with these athletes? They retire. How many retired athletes are leading athletics, are coaching athletics? Do we research? Do we interview them? Do we ask them, what are the things you have learned, and use that knowledge to now train the next generation? So we have a problem of generation handover. And that's why young people have had to come asking us directly, please mentor me, because the institutions we have, they do not allow us to use our skill gained over years to train the next generation. And you know what is bad about that? It's that we, the elders, who have the skills acquired over time, we never grow up. We now start behaving like mubabas, trying to be Gen Zs and millennials, trying to dance on TikTok and on social media, behaving like we are half our age, because the system does not allow us to use our expertise. This is our political problem. The role of politicians is to sabotage work. Our politicians are parasites. They can't work. They block us from working. This disease is everywhere, and football is one of the places that is most notorious for this problem. Football is where ordinary Kenyans meet to either play or to watch the game. And for politicians, they see this as a crowd puller, and what they want is crowds. In my conversation with Dr. Solomon Waliaula, we even said that the reason why football cannot be developed is because if we have a functional league with everybody either practicing or going to watch the game, how will politicians get a crowd when they need to have a rally? Where will politicians find people to hire as goons when there are protests? There'll be nobody because young people are too busy playing football or waiting for the next team. And that's why politicians cannot allow football to thrive. We have to understand that our problem with this government and since colonial times has been that politicians and civil servants rig the game. They are parasites. Their work, what they do to us is to sabotage work, to block knowledge, and to disrespect people who have skills. So that we now have to do small things so that we don't catch the radar of the government. Because if we catch their attention, they shut us down. What happens in Kenya is that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, politicians will come to sabotage that process. Private sector will come to market their goods because they want to use that work you did in attracting customers to your place. Now private sector wants to use those customers for their own business. KRA will come to tax you. A donor will come to distract you with money and trips abroad so that you go and by the time you come back, the thing has died. Or NIS will come to spy on you because NIS is so scared of us meeting together because they don't want us to develop solidarity that could be a challenge to government. That is the problem of our politics. So let me now come to technology. There are some people who are telling me on X that our athletes are not doing well because they are not using tech. That's a very simplistic logic that I have come to detest so much. Tech means nothing where there's no knowledge and skill. If we go back to the example of my neighbor cannot compete in the 100 meters Olympics with an AI gadget. She still needs to train. She needs to know how to use the gadget to help in her training, not to replace her as the runner. Because if we think that technology can replace knowledge, can replace work, and can replace skill, we'll come up with these white elephants that we have been seeing of late. For example, the 1 laptop per child. We were told that, oh, you know, kids, they need to learn coding, so let's buy everybody a laptop. And when some of us were saying the research doesn't show that that is a very effective way to go, people are saying, what's your solution? So the laptops were bought, distributed, they were not used. And yet, this obsession of government with technology and buildings and concrete, it's so rampant. And there are some people who actually believe that technology can solve human problems. But let me tell you why we Kenyans can't see through this obsession with tech, where we treat tech like a religion that can solve human problems. It's because we think like politicians. Politicians have removed knowledge and work and skill from the conversation. And what they've done is that they've left us with talent on one side and tech, meaning all we need is people who are talented and machines. It's like saying, instead of providing my neighbor with the opportunity to get a coach, with the opportunity to go for competitions and learn to compete against others, what she needs is to go to the ICT ministry for an AI gadget. And yet this logic, by the way, it is often repeated by Kenyans. And when you try to tell them, but we still need knowledge and skill to decide how to use that gadget, they tell you, oh, your problem is you don't like technology. We can't stop change. What does this have to do with change? But let me tell you why politicians like technology. It's because they never have to talk about work. They never have to develop Kenyans' knowledge, and they don't have to develop our skill. So they can keep us mediocre, and they can tell us whatever lies they want, and we never have to challenge them. That's why they are so obsessed with concrete and technology. The politicians do not want to develop Kenyans to have an active sporting life, because if we do, there will be no one to misuse for their rallies, no one to hire as goons. And you know what? Sports will bring us together. If we have an active football league, all of us Kenyans will be competing against each other. We'll be too busy having fun together to start being divided on tribal lines. And that's why sports will not be developed in Kenya unless we change our politics. So the way forward is we Kenyans have to re-engineer our minds. We have to start seeing work, knowledge, and skill. Where we are as Kenyans, we have been taught by the education system not to see those things. This problem of our knowledge, work, and skills has to be at the center of our political struggles. And I'm happy that I've had Gen Z saying, we don't have opportunities to work. And even as elders, shame on us for our silence, because we need to be saying, even us, we have expertise that we want to use. And every time we try to contribute our expertise, you change the system so that we can look stupid and so that you can say, oh, the problem is you that you don't like change. Actually, what our problem is that we have been rendered irrelevant. Because we have skill, politicians fear skill, and so they have shut us up. And they have kept us working in the positions where millennials and Gen Zs should now be working. And that is why they have to come to us directly for mentorship, because where we are behaving like millennials. We are working like millennials. Our knowledge is being considered useless. Even look at our sports people. All the sports people who have retired, are they being involved in sports? Are they being used to help our sports system? All the people, the pioneers who were in football, in cricket, we used to do well in cricket. Where is Collins Injera? Is he at the top of rugby? No, because politicians fear skill. Politicians want to be everything to everybody, and that's why they can't allow skilled people and expertise to plug in to the different sectors of Kenya. So we need to make the problem of knowledge, work, and skill at the center of our politics. What we have in Kenya is a knowledge problem and a growth problem. We are not growing up. We are not growing up and ceding the space to the following generation. And that's why our millennials and Gen Zs are saying enough. But you can see now what the Gen Zs are showing on the streets, that is what is happening in sports in Paris. We are being shown what happens to our society when it stops thinking, it stops valuing knowledge, it shows madharau for skill, and when a society is led by people who don't think anybody else knows anything and that they must be everything to everybody. They cannot. Politicians are not God. And unfortunately, people are going to the streets tomorrow to say that yet again. And I don't think the politicians can even hear what they are saying.